So let us try to understand these issues. And these are the basic questions I'll be dealing. Why we are unhappy? What are our misconceptions? We'll give slightly, we give slightly more importance to why money can't buy happiness and what makes us happy. These are the issues we will be dealing in the whole setup. Well, I think I can do this. I can see it properly. Yeah. Now, the major issue, what I wanted to discuss with you, that it's important to understand today's generation. I'm not going to read it line by line because it's not, you can easily understand what I mean to say. This is their characteristic. I mean, they grew up with technology and they are born digital. If you like your child to connect, you will connect them anywhere, anytime, any moment, because they are always with their mobile. But even if they are sitting at your side, they will not have any eye contact. Eye contact has gone down, significantly gone down. We, in our time, when, well, at what point we used to lose our eye contact? If we have done something wrong, then we will not make any eye contact. So, but here, today we have children, they are always connectable, but very difficult to maintain eye contact. They are open to change, they have a lot of information, they reflect collectively, but they act individually. They will discuss many things, but they will act individually. They are values driven, diverse, progressive, and they are very passionate about a good body. Very passionate about it. They have a lot of knowledge. It's very difficult to surpass their knowledge system. Morning we discussed all about that. Probably in our generation, particularly, we were more purpose driven. Today, the children are more passion driven. So passion is a very important thing. And we need to exploit their passion, because what really used to happen in older time, we were forced to work in an area where our ability is there. There are three things in our career. One is called interest, one is called ability, and one is called expectations. This is true for our children as well. Okay. Now, suppose what really happens, we never try to make an overlap among these three. Suppose my interest is in music, my ability is in physics, expectation is to be civil servant. Will I ever become somebody? I'll never become somebody. So who helps us doing this? Parents don't do that. Parents say that, you see, there's a great misconception that if I get good marks in a particular subject, parents call that it is my subject of interest. It's 100% misconception. 100%. The reason that if I'm good at chemistry, it means I should read chemistry only. The reason is that that's my comfort zone. I don't want to go beyond my comfort zone and read something. So even parents make a mistake by telling that you always get good marks in chemistry, therefore you must study chemistry. Nobody tells us that the subject you know is good, but the subject you don't know, you have to also think horizontally about it. So knowledge is not vertical always, that you develop speciality in a given subject. You have to also expand. So today's children have got a lot of knowledge, but their problem, as I said, that they fail to get a template that how knowledge is to be derived. So derivation of knowledge is a problem. It's not their knowledge registration problem. The knowledge registration has an age. Up to 30, we can register information very good. 30 to 50, we can process information very good. And 50 and above, we can retrieve information very good. There are age-linked knowledge processors. But in a person whose registration, processing, and retrieval, all three are good, very rare. So some students are good at registration, some students are good at processing, some students are good at retrieval. We say that in order to have your better registration, your mental aperture needs to be open. And mental aperture is open only when we are happy about it. And we say that those who are having a better mental aperture, they not only register information, they also process information. It's like खाना तो वो बहुत खा लेते हैं, और कितना digest कर पाते हैं. It's a matter of digestion only. So digest करके फिर उसको metabolize करके उससे power derive करना, which is retrieval, is altogether different ball game. So our knowledge system is more of registration, less of retrieval. Then, why they are unhappy? This is very important. It's also important for our children. Let me tell you. देखिए, we all understand Hindi, ना? तो थोड़ा बहुत हम हिंदी में बोले तो कोई issue नहीं. The issue, what I am trying to tell, माँ बाप हमें कभी नहीं सिखाते हैं कि लाइफ में डिसीजन कैसे लेना. हमेशा कहते हैं कि लाइफ में कोई भी डिसीजन ले लो, बेस्ट ले लो. माँ बाप कभी नहीं बताते हैं कि डिसीजन 3 तरह का होता है: बेस्ट डिसीजन, गुड डिसीजन एंड राइट डिसीजन. 3 तरह का डिसीजन. अगर हम बेस्ट डिसीजन ही हमेशा लेना चाहें तो आई लूज माई होल लाइफ. तो स्टूडेंट्स के लिए भी वही प्रॉब्लम है. इनको लगता है हमें बेस्ट जॉब चाहिए, हमें बेस्ट सब्जेक्ट चाहिए, हमें बेस्ट सब कुछ चाहिए. तो हमसे भी कुछ पूछते हैं कि सर आप बेस्ट डिसीजन लेते हो. उन्होंने कहा यार बेस्ट डिसीजन लेते तो हम आज चलते लाइफ में, तो बेस्ट डिसीजन सब लोग लेते हैं. तो खैर जोक्स अपार्ट, क्वेश्चन ये है कि nobody tells us how to take decision at all. वो गुड डिसीजन, राइट डिसीजन एंड बेस्ट डिसीजन की बात तो अलग है. कोई नहीं सिखाता है हमको हाउ टू टेक डिसीजन एट टाइम. सब कहते हैं कि ठीक है हो जाएगा. So this is one major issue. What is why people are unhappy, because they don't know how to take decisions, and they always suffer from something which I call FOMO. FOMO is fear of missing opportunity. हमने इसका नाम दिया है hypothetical missed opportunity. We always believe, जैसे IIT में भी ये प्रॉब्लम है कि if I am doing engineering and I am not doing well, we believe that I should have gone to medical. And the question here है कि if I go to medical, who gives me the surety that I would have done better? वहाँ हो सकता है फेल हो जाते हैं, यहाँ तो फिर भी कुछ मिल रहा है, वहाँ तो हो सकता है फेल हो जाते हैं. So people suffer from some hypothetical missed opportunity and they repent throughout their life. Throughout their life. And इस repentance का जो cost है life के ऊपर, we never try to account for it. So hypothetical missed opportunity is a big problem. That's why students are always unhappy. They believe that probably I have not made a good choice. And ये double इसलिए हो जाता है क्योंकि parents force them to take a decision. They don't take a decision. They don't own it. They say कि तो माँ बाप ने कहा 90% हमारे बच्चे कहते हैं, 90% ये तो माँ बाप ने कहा तो हम लोग कहते हैं. But थोड़ा दिन बाद क्योंकि माँ बाप कहते हैं, here particularly in IIT, everybody is a topper in their own school. But when they come to IIT, there could be only one topper. बाकियों का क्या होगा? माँ बाप कहते हैं कि भाई तू तो क्लास में कभी सेकंड नहीं आया, आज की तरह रैंक 98 आ गया. तो वो सोचना शुरू कर देता कि हमने गलत डिसीजन ले लिया. अब माँ बाप को तो बोलना कुछ मुश्किल है. तो इसके टीचर्स, इंटरवेंशन ऑफ द टीचर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू गेट rid of their misconceptions. That well, if you don't know how to honor your own decision, you cannot expect that others will honor you. So unless we get rid of that kind of misconception, whatever we say, mental aperture will not open. Perceived sense of injustice and inability to modify. This is a generation problem. I mean, that is, if something goes wrong, we start blaming others. Today's children, I mean, hey, I'm not referring you off. Don't worry. It's a private talk. It's a private talk. So the idea is that there are 4 kinds of strategies a child takes whenever they confront a stressful situation. Either they attack, or they compromise, or they avoid, or they defend. Now, defense is always a false excuse. They are not performing well. Parents ने कहा तो हमको लेना पड़ा. हम तो नहीं चाह रहे, हमारा इंटरेस्ट कुछ और था. क्या इंटरेस्ट था वो बता नहीं पाए, पर हमारा इंटरेस्ट कुछ और था. ये छोड़ के बाकी सब कुछ था. Okay. Anyway, they are also unhappy because of news fatigue. I mean, they only listen to tragedies. Only. I mean, today morning also, I felt so bad. 30 people charged death in Delhi. I mean, every day we get news. I mean, which is really a shock to all of us. So we get secondarily traumatized. We call it secondary trauma. That is, it's happening with somebody else, but we feel for it when somebody is charged to death. Therefore, news fatigue is also making them unhappy. And particularly in pandemic, every day they count how many deaths. What is that we used to count? Tell me. How many deaths? Isn't that? And the online interaction reduces empathy. ये तो मानना पड़ेगा, because there are 4 kinds of apathies: apathy, antipathy, sympathy, and empathy. 4 kinds of apathies. Okay. Normally, if you do not have a social glue, I mean social interaction, you develop apathy. That is, मेरे को क्या फर्क पड़ता है, जो हो रहा है सो हो रहा है. क्योंकि कब तक आप झेलोगे, कब तक न्यूज फटीग एंड सेकेंडरी ट्रॉमेटाइजेशन को आप झेल पाओगे. तो आप बता देते हो भाई हमें कोई नहीं फर्क पड़ता है, रोज होता रहता है, कोई ना कोई तो रोज मरता होगा ना. इस तरह का स्टेटमेंट आता है. तो we did not have such kind of statements in our lifetime. The question ये उठता है कि why today children are unhappy? Because of us, our generation. And we did not groom them well. Maybe the context also did not support each one of us. Therefore, the course on happiness is to not to make them happy. First, get rid of their misconceptions. These are the misconceptions about life. We must understand. And then if you want you to be, you can be happy. If you don't want to be unhappy. Doesn't matter. But open up. First, understand what are the misconceptions. The first misconception, of course, is about money. That money cannot buy happiness. And this is the photograph of that Kahneman, the Nobel laureate I talked to about money, and that's the book. The thinking fast, thinking slow. So what does he say actually? He says that it's foolish to say that money cannot buy happiness. Yeah, money is very important. And will I be able to survive without money? And who is not happy? Why do I propose something that money cannot buy happiness? So he did a big research on about 4 lakh people in America. And he found that anybody who is getting something more than a decent salary, he said $75,000 per year. In our case, I don't know if you make an equivalent of it, not equivalent between dollar and money, rupee. Let us say that somebody who is getting 12 lakh rupees per year, 1 lakh a month. He says that if you are getting a decent salary, and if it is about $75,000 per year, after that, your happiness doesn't increase. Your happiness doesn't increase. Happiness gets a plateau. And he also found that happiness, not having money doesn't cause sadness. That's also his point of view. So, he's a behavioral economist. He says that more money doesn't buy happiness. The essence of his thought, because children, whenever they come, even their parents here say, the moment they get into IIT, the first question the parents ask, it's a kitna package milega? First year mein, just entry leave. They are taking the entry in IIT. Parents ask this question, how much, what is the package that he or she may get? So the whole idea of having academia is linked to having some kind of salary. But since I have been teaching 40 years, I have seen that students who are getting more money, they quickly become more unhappy. More unhappy. And if your growth is steady, slowly, I don't know whether you know, when I joined Banaras University as a central government appointee, my salary was fixed in 760 rupees. That was my salary. So when I tell it to my child, he says that, ये तो हम झूठ बोलते हो, ये तो हम believe नहीं करेंगे. But 760 was enough for me at that point in time. Question ये है कि money as such and the perception of money, they are two different things. How do we perceive money? For example, when I go abroad, I find a lot of people value dollar. The equivalent money, they don't value that much. Suppose I have got $10 in my pocket, and it must be equivalent to something like 750 rupees. So 750 rupees is not important for me. $10 is more important. It's the perception of it, how we perceive money. So behavior finance people read about these kind of situations. So this is Daniel Kahneman's thing, and our children often contradict this issue that you can't say that money doesn't bring happiness. It brings happiness. We have to say that, well, it does, but let us listen to somebody who has done so big a research, got a Nobel Prize. There must be some worth in it. And the worth is that, well, there is a stage where you get money up to a point, and thereafter your well-being may improve, but not to the extent as it used to improve in the beginning. So for a rickshawala, getting somewhere additional 100 rupees, and for me, getting somewhere additional 100 rupees are two different 100 rupees. That point I wanted to do. So in the next slide, I'll switch and then I'll come back to the next slide. The next slide is about hedonic adaptation. That is, we the teachers, we have got 5th pay commission, 6th pay commission, 7th pay commission. We are getting more and more money. But is it so that our motivation and happiness is also increasing accordingly? Not accordingly. Maybe 3 months we are happy that we got an enhanced salary package. But then it gets sedimented. Isn't that? All gets sedimented. And so a lot of researches were done, even Daniel Kahneman also did it, on those who got lottery tickets. So in America, what happens? There are a lot of lotteries. People get millions, 10 million, 12 million at one go in lottery tickets. And the studies reveal that after 6 months, you go back to your earlier stage. After 6 months, within 6 months, you may lose money, you may not lose money, but your happiness level goes back. That is, you have a base level, you have a basal level. And in that base level, we go back. That is called hedonic adaptation. And that's what it is called, a tendency of humans to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite many achievements. So idea is that we may earn anything, but we all have our hedonic adaptation level. We adapt at a certain particular level. We can't keep on becoming happy by having money. So money must be understood accordingly. So with this, evidence, because we generally come up with an empirical evidence, they start thinking, realizing, well, सर जो बता रहे हैं हो सकता है उसमें कुछ दम हो, क्योंकि money will not be able to fetch us everything in life. So that's first misconception. Yes.
And then I was faced with this accusation that I am coming from a privileged stance, where people are just wanting to get jobs which pay them well, and I'm telling them that you should seek happiness in other things also. Money is not everything. They were like, no, you are coming from a privileged angle and you do not understand that how important money is for the people who are there.
Yeah, that's what Daniel Kahneman also says, that it's a bogus statement that money does not bring happiness. Yes, it does bring happiness, but it does bring happiness up to a level. At that level, that paisa level is unique to every individual. You may have your base level at 75,000 per year. I may be having 60,000 per year. So the point is that we all have a hedonic adaptation level. So when we reach up to that level, then even if money increases, for example, if I ask my father, he's no more last year, he passed away. I wanted him to take everywhere, I mean, at the best possible place in the world. But he says that mere ko us ghar ke kone mein hi sona. I can't sleep anywhere else. You may take me to a 7-star hotel, but I'll not sleep there. If you want me, I'll go and see it. But sote samay humko wahi aana padega. So the question here is, everybody has its own hedonic adaptation level. That adaptation level is very important. If that adaptation level is not there, then we will not have the equilibrium that we are looking for. That's the point we have to make. Because students will obviously say they have not seen reality now. Because they haven't earned on their own. They are only parasite at this moment. But when they enter into the system, then they start realizing. I remember one of my students here. Sometime in at that point I was in IIT, 98, 99. A geology geophysics student, he came to me and said, "Sir, I got a good job." I said, "How much you're getting?" He said, "I am getting slightly more than you." By that time, I completed 20 years of my teaching, because it was sometime in 2000. And within 2 years, he came back. And he says that, "Sir, मेरे को मास्टर्स करना है, PhD करना है." तो मैंने पूछा, जॉब को लेकर क्या करना है? जॉब नहीं कहा। लेकिन जॉब तो सर ऐसा है ना, जो मैंने सीखा है, जो मैं कर रहा हूँ, दोनों में कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है. There is no relation between these two. So what for I have invested time, energy, and money all these years? So this realization comes much later. It's very important for us to tell them in advance that you will face this problem. What decision you are going to take is completely yours. We are not there to guide your decision, because if you guide them, there will be resistance. If you tell them these are the alternatives, you have to own your own decision. They will take it more wisely. That's the point I'm trying to make.
This book titled "What You Ever Wanted Was Not Enough." What you all wanted was not enough. It talks about one particular real life character. At a very early age in his life, around some 20, 21, he enjoys all the pleasures of life. He's filthy rich, everything. And he goes mad because he has got nothing else to aim for. And I understand when they were deciding the syllabi for Bible,
Mm.
they take his case also. Because they say that one should also know that if you get what all you ever wanted,
Mhm.
that would still be not enough for you. And that is also one of the elements. of
That's the crux, but this all thing come out of experience. Actually, the बच्चों को ये पता नहीं चलता. Initially, they don't realize that well, what all we want to achieve in life, it can't be achieved in one go. Huh.
Like you said, that after a certain number, it doesn't increase up to that extent.
Yes.
Many people have crossed that.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts of the people who are giving their money?
Or
After-
giving their money. You mean
Are they
this-
doing this or do they be happy from like Ratan Tata?
Hmm.
They are giving the money to society, charity, or this. Are they doing for happiness?
You are talking about philanthropy?
It can be any reason.
It could be any reason where they give money.
Yeah, give money. Are they doing-
That's my fourth point.
Okay.
Fourth point, that giving gift and receiving gift. Receiving gift doesn't give you happiness. Giving gift gives you much more
Yeah.
happiness. That's the fourth point I was going to cover actually. You got a very good point actually. Giving, how it helps, one can realize only when you learn the power of anonymous work. If you give something in order to get your own identity, then it will never give you pleasure. If you can neutralize your identity, it's called power of anonymous work. Hidden leadership. Then only you will enjoy that kind of happiness. Otherwise, you are looking for your identity. You are giving money, you are looking for your own identity. That's the point there. Okay. So the second issue that I have, as you said, since you talked it, I brought it here, that happiness comes from receiving gifts is a great misconception. Actually, we become more happy when we give gifts. And there are a lot of studies in that. Look, this study has been published in Science, one of the greatest journals in our world. And they also found there is a neural link between generosity and happiness. Through functional magnetic resonance imaging study. A lot of studies have been done. And this man done, he actually worked on 136 countries. Got huge number of data, then only published it in Science. And it has been found that while you give, it gives a different kind of happiness. So qualitatively, the kind of happiness we are referring about is giving what you are saying, giving, and not receiving. So receiving gives you that basic level of happiness. But if you have to advance it to that level, then you have to give.
It's not linked with money all the time.
Not money, it can be anything. It can be anything. You just, this is what I call senseless act of beauty. That some kind of kindness which is not wanted, but you do it. The blood bank example that we gave in the morning, you will find some people regularly give their blood, not because of money. If there is money, they will not go. So they do it, and they don't tell it to anyone. They don't tell it to anyone. Why I have personally witnessed it, because my house is just next door to Mother Teresa. Next door I used to stay, and my parental house. I have seen how these people work. I'm not here to promote Christianity, because a lot of people blame about it. Whatever be the thing, I have seen how they do. They do all their activities during midnight only, so that nobody can see them. So the power of anonymous work, the senseless act of beauty, are certain kind of exercises we often do in order to get happiness, which is eternal, which is not for identity, it's for integrity with the human system, with the humanity. So identity and integrity gives two different kinds of happiness. Some people get a lot of happiness through identity. Some people get a lot of happiness through integrity.
But in the Western world also, when they donate organs,
Mhm.
they will not be even told to whom it will be, offered, or they won't even recognize or they won't even acknowledge the fact that some person has donated this organ. But still, people are willing to voluntarily donate.
No. Since you raised this question, they have changed the approach from India. In India, if you want to donate organ, you have to register your name. You have to go there and you have to tell if I'm brain dead or any member of my family is brain dead. You can take their organs. But in Western world, it is just opposite. Everybody has to give it. If you don't want to give it, you have to go and register yourself.
Not genomics.
Huh?
Not genomics.
Nudge it.
The guy got Nobel Prize also.
Yeah, that's what is his name? Richard Thaler. Thaler got Nobel Prize on this issue. Nudge. So it's about how we apply the principles of human behavior to policy and practice. So that's why the studies in happiness have become so important for all of us. Okay.
Can we say it like this just in a summary so that I can understand how adaptation is the level of happiness that someone is catering about. And there are some acts that bring spike into that particular level, but there are some acts that actually raise the level of hedonic adaptation.
Well, hedonic adaptation, you can raise it, but through divine divine sense of happiness. That's the kind of we all have our own hedonic adaptation level. I mean, somebody whose level is pretty low, I mean, economically, I'm saying, his adaptation level may be different. But somebody who is already a privileged class, what she was referring about, their hedonic adaptation will be different. So the question is, at what point of time I'll be happy? If we can reach up to the level beyond that, even if we sustain over a period of time, ultimately we have to come back. That's why, even if that's not true for happiness, it's true for unhappiness as well. You may have lost something very great, but you come back ultimately and smile someday.
Resilience.
That resilience will actually bring back the kind of basal level of hedonic adaptation that you wanted to make.
So in this gift was
Yeah. I
missed my the airlines missed my luggage.
Yeah, you told in the morning.
They didn't wait 4 more days and I'm going. So that's one question.
Yeah.
Regarding this purchase and gift, there is a kind of gift which is a corporate gifts that has a different meaning.
Mhm.
The personal gift has a different meaning.
Mhm.
So anything the article says, like what kind of gift makes more happiness? Like corporate gift is a kind of a nudgy kind of thing.
Mhm.
But a personal gift has a different meaning.
Mhm.
In a personal gift, also we have a amount of gift. Like small gift means cheaper gift, expensive gift
Mhm.
means genuine gifts are not so expensive, which makes sense. Otherwise, it's showing. So, like anything which was shown in this article.
I think they did not refer about anything. They simply said, I mean, I have gone through that article. They did not go up to that level of the kind of gift and the kind of happiness. They did not analyze it. They wanted to analyze it, the link in the brain. That is there an area in the brain that absorbs glucose at the time when you are giving? Glucose in the brain. Okay, because whenever you feel good, the feel good factor has a level of absorption of glucose in the brain. So that can be measured by a machine called functional magnetic resonance imaging. And that machine, how we do? The logic is very simple. If you are interested, I can tell you. The moment you have a feeling, every feeling triggers a neural activation. A neural activation, the moment there is a neural activation, there will be depletion of glucose, the depletion of oxygen. The moment that area of the brain gets depleted, the nearby areas will release blood so that more oxygen can go and compensate for that. Now, the moment you get magnetized and demagnetized blood in that area, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, we capture it with a magnet, which is called 3 Tesla magnet, 2 Tesla magnet, which is called MRI. MRI is done for structural imaging. Functional MRI is done to understand how that metabolic changes which is happening in the brain has a relation with a psychological concept or a behavioral concept. So we generally apply the functional magnetic resonance imaging as a technique to understand whether generosity is really giving you some kind of happiness or not. And that happiness is validated with electrophysiology, that is your gamma activity in the brain, with whether it is coinciding with that or not. So we actually coincide it with neuroimaging and electrophysiology in order to understand. Science doesn't publish something which is simply an observation. They publish something which is critically, objectively verified. So that article actually deals more with that. Yeah. This is the temporal-parietal region of the brain, the parietal region. The parietal region, the parietal, you do meditation, ask Sambhuji, sitting.
He's already doing meditation.
Is already doing meditation. So we have a job that I keep my frontal lobe open and he keeps his parietal lobe open.
Sir, I feel that when somebody gives gift to us, somebody we feel important. So that is due to that some happiness.
I didn't follow.
When I receive some gift,
Yes.
so I will feel myself important person. That I
Value.
am important. That's why he or she is giving me.
Yes.
So from that happiness comes.
That look, if it's an affiliating happiness. That I mean, once again, I will have to go back to a basic. There are three kinds. Belonging. There are three kinds of motivations we have as a human being. One is called achievement. One is called affiliation. One is called power. Okay. So it's a affiliative happiness. That some people must be liking me, and that's the reason. Probably, can you take a call, sister? Hello. Hello. So I think
Maybe like you were saying a corporate gift. Nobody is giving gift. It's a bribe. I'm quite on that. I'm quite on that. I'm quite on that.
Sir, I think, I don't know. If you're gifting to people like your friends, or people of the same status, then I don't think this thing matters. It's just social responsibility. If you're giving anonymous gifts to somebody who's in need, like you gave the example of Mother Teresa, I think that brings real happiness compared to the social gifting we do all the time. That is, I would call it social responsibility more than anything.
Actually, I can share my personal issue with you. I'm raising a couple of children whom I have never seen.
Yes, so that probably brings you a lot of
And I haven't seen them. They are orphaned. And I keep on, that's one of the projects I used to run in the colleges, in universities, in PHU actually. The project was that they have to find some money from their regular pocket expenditures, and they have to go to a mentally retarded home where they will, take care of either their milk or their clothes or their textbook. I found that students, by doing that kind of exercises, developed a different kind of mental mindset. So, giving gift for your identity is something which is corporate. Giving gift something for the benefit of humanity is integrity, is altogether a different thing. Nobody will get to know that you have given something. This is why I say senseless act of beauty. If somebody is drowning, you don't know swimming, but you jumped into the river and tried to save, and ultimately you also get drowned. So this is a senseless act of beauty. You will find, I was in Japan, and I found that there was a movie going on, Japanese movie going on, and a woman was crying profusely. And I found in television, a small child, he had gone with a piece of cloth and trying to wipe the, the face of that lady. And you see the level of belongingness the children develop. They don't know that it is not real. So this is like what I call as senseless act of beauty. And that gives eternal happiness. But it's very difficult to help the students understand this. That's why I don't try to tell them this senseless act of beauty, but I tell them the example of the blood bank. They realize, yes, sir, if there is a money behind the blood bank, then we'll not go. If I can give it to somewhere without any money, I'll go and do it.
There is this,
This is one big challenge, sir.
Huh? Please,
This
please.
is one big challenge.
Yes.
To motivate students to make them do something social without marks.
Yes.
A big issue, sir. Social work. at least.
So
They
volunteerism.
need to work social work without marks.
Hmm.
You give them homework, assignment, as the social work marks, sir, you do it. But no marks, क्या करेंगे? Just a good knowledge.
Very temporary.
Temporary.
After passing out, they will need to have food
Then
and
they
well,
have-
they will recognize that.
बच्चों के लिए भी जरूर करनी चाहिए।
Whenever they are in study, they will feel that somebody has given marks,
Yes.
so he is good. But after passing out,
Then
their perception will change. But
This
it's
is
just
very
like.
effective.
if you don't give marks, they will never do it.
This is short-term happiness and long-term happiness. Because, I mean, I remember, given an opportunity, we'll go to those kind of people who taught me something which is valuable. And a primary school teacher, for example, we touch their feet. But I don't know whether we touch the feet of university teachers or not. So, because the real essence of learning, children get to know only much later. That kind of, I mean, it's very difficult to tell these children these days about this kind of happiness. But let us go back to other points.
So there is this initiative of ITC called Wealth Out of Waste. What they actually do is they go to different education institutions, take their all the answer scripts, whatever is the paper that is used. So they take back that paper. And initially they used to pay more than what a Radiwala would have paid. 4 rupees per kg, they used to pay 7 rupees a kg. But still they could not source that waste paper from different education institutions.
Yeah.
Then what they did, they started visiting the same institutions and said, we won't pay you anything. But in exchange for this, you tell us any institution, any government school or any other underprivileged school, we will give equivalent of the paper craft and classmate notebooks free of cost. So more and more educational institutions started giving away their waste paper to ITC, and ITC in turn used to provide these notebooks to different institutions.
These are social innovations. I think these are social innovations. And social innovations are those kind of innovations which are based on non-expert knowledge system. They are not based on expert knowledge system or theory. So it may not be a foolproof empirical method, but it works. It works. So my next point is that freedom of choice enhances happiness. It doesn't actually. If you are given too many freedom, too many choices, it actually make a cognitive load on you. So more the chances, more the choices, the more there are cognitive load.
Yes, please. So many channels to watch, you don't end up watching in nothing.
So also same varieties. Variety is misery.
Variety is imagery actually, but you should have choices, but limited choices will always help. If you are given 5-6 jobs, your life will be hell. You will end up getting nothing. If you have a 3 invitation in one night, you will end up not eating anything. That's the misery. Anyway. Longer vacation. I hope you can't see it, no? longer vacations will make us happier. Is it so? अरे, Pandemic में तो यही सब पता चला. Pandemic में तो यही सब पता चला कि proximity stress किसे कहते हैं, belongingness barrier कैसे develop होता है, and compassionate fatigue कैसे generate करते हैं. All these things we have witnessed in pandemic. Therefore, I mean, during vacation, students always say, sir, if we get a month vacation, it would be good. But after 2 months, they start feeling that they should come back. So, longer vacation will not make you happy. So, students realize it, and that gives them some idea. That happiness comes from attaining something and keeping it forever. I mean, we don't make use of certain gifts which you feel that it's so precious and is so dear to you. You'll keep it in under lock and key. You leave it there and don't even use it. That gold. Gold is a great example. And my wife says that, well, if I have to use my gold, I'll go to the locker. You give me some time, I'll wear it, I'll put it back to there, and then I'll come back. So that's the way. That's the way.
Earlier it was a tailor set.
Earlier it was.
Tailor set. Whenever you go to China,
Again, we roll down to the same hedonic adaptation.
Yes, hedonic adaptation. We feel that negative memories prevent people from being happy. And the morning we discussed about it. Actually, forgiveness has a great unburdening effect. I mean, you know that you can't change a man. It's better to change ourselves. I mean, a lot of bad experience we accrue in our life, and we can't, even if you take a revenge of some bad experience, it doesn't satisfy you actually. So, forgiveness has a great unburdening effect. Great unburdening effect. And forgiving people are, I mean, I had one boss. Is your boss also? I don't know. Your boss means Abba. I mean, Ashok Chauhan was, we are very close. And Dr. Chalomukti also. I mean, he taught me this, that you can't fight with everybody. At times you have to unburden yourself by forgiving. So, if you don't forgive, you lose one of your internal organs. Biology of belief says that. If you are negatively tuned, you are actually damaging one of your system. So all psychosomatic disorders, including cardiovascular disorder, respiratory disorder, dermal disorder, gastrointestinal disorders, they all come because we have got cold aggression. We can't express it. It remains with you. And any thought that enters in your mind must find a physical expression. Don't think that we can think anything. Nothing will happen. Any thought goes inside your brain will find an expression. And that expression has to come physically. So the book, Biology of Belief, the person, tomorrow I'll talk about it, Bruce Lipton, had a, huge thesis on that. Ultimately, it's a bestseller, one of the bestseller in the world. And it tells that, well, if your belief is faulty, primal belief is wrong, bad every time, then you damage one of your systems. That's the reason why we develop psychosomatic disorders like this. Pain reduces pleasure. ऐसा भी नहीं है, because I know that pain and pleasure center in the brain is identical. The same spot actually. The spot which gives you pleasure, the same spot gives you pain. So they are not two different centers. It's a misconception that pain reduces pleasure. If you have got pain, your pleasure will be reduced. That's why in the last line we have written, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It's a misconception that pain reduces pleasure. anything, if you want to derive pleasure, you have to get the pain. Because the center, the brain center is the same, identical. 1945, the famous Olds experiment was done on monkey. And monkey was supposed to press a button. The moment it presses a button, it used to get nuts. Every time he presses a button, there is an electric shock. So initially, the monkey rejected the peanuts. But after 5 trials, the monkey kept on pressing and kept on getting the peanut. And then we took the peanuts away. Monkey still continued to pressing the button because it was getting pleasure out of it. Because the center of pleasure and pain in the brain is identical.
Somebody wants to join.
Pardon?
Somebody wants to join online. So asking for admission.
We have to do this. So, getting my dream job will make me happy is also a misconception. You get your dream job, but after getting it within 3 months, you become unhappy. Isn't it true? I should have gotten a better job. I must get a better job. So, Sonia Limbriski, she came to our happiness center here. And Sonia Limbriski. So we listened to her as well. And the central thesis is that getting a good job will make you happy is a misconception. So every IIT child believes that they must get a very good job. And once they get the job, they think that probably they must get a better job than this, what they are having. I mean, we soon become unhappy with our dream job. Now, question is why we are unhappy. One is that we go by comparative standard more often as compared to self-standard or comparison with ourselves. So self-standard and comparative standard are two different standards. We are always taught about the comparative standards. देखो बाकी लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? They are doing better than you. बगल का जो बच्चा है वो देखो they are getting better marks. They have a better car. They have a better television. I'll not tell all the secrets, but but we always compare. So comparative standard and self-standard. We never teach people how to go by self-standard. So comparison with others, I mean, here's the difficulty. Comparison with self brings improvement. Comparison with others brings fun. The second point I make is the lack of gratitude. सुबह उठते ही जो है ना, हम सोचते हैं क्या क्या हमें नहीं मिला कल, क्या क्या मिला हम तो कभी हिसाब लगाते नहीं. So what we have achieved, that is never my concern. What I could not achieve has always been my concern. So gratitude nahi hai. So when children come here, I ask this question. They say that sir, I have got gratitude for everybody. But when I ask this question, did you say anything to your mother? Did you say anything to your servant who served food for you? Did you talk to your friends who could not get it? They all must have contributed to your development. What kind of gratitude you have shown? They say yes, that is true. That is true. That is gratitude. Of course, some of you will be able to better tell about it. I mean, it's such an important concept in bringing happiness. If we don't know, if we don't learn how to have that gratitude, we never do. Getting stuck in comfort zone. I was telling you about chemistry is my best ever subject because I get more marks. So we are stuck in comfort zone. We don't want to go beyond that. So comfort zone is always better, but nothing grows there. And living always in the past or future is another issue. Now, brain sciences, in neurosciences, we have found that in a day, we generally have around 60,000 thoughts, around 60,000 in a day, waking state. But out of that, 96% are repeats. And with every thought, we are losing glucose in the brain. Is it possible for us to go beyond that repetition in our thought process? So why we are unhappy? Primarily because of these reasons. If we develop a little bit of our awareness about it, probably life would be slightly better. Yes.
This amazing technology that there is a machine which can count number of thoughts per day.
It is actually in functional MRI, what they do, every time there is a spike, every time there is a glucose absorption, it can be recorded in computer. How many such spikes are coming?
So one spike means
One thought. One thought. So generally 60,000 thoughts we get it in a day's time, waking state. If we are waking for about.
How do we understand repeat thoughts?
Repeat thought is an addition, because repeat thoughts, when there is no variation in spikes. I mean, repeat thoughts are generally, people do it by pumped up computers. Pumped up computers means you keep on thinking certain thing. The moment a new thought comes, you are supposed to press a button. So that way, a lot of researchers have come up with those innovations. But can I know how new thoughts come to my head? Every day, we get up in the morning, keep on thinking about something about which we have already thought. So idea is that how many new thoughts have come up in your mind? So how many new thoughts, if you introspectively ask about people, they say 5 thoughts, 6 thoughts. But if you know what is the total count, the frequency of thoughts that you have in hand, that close to 60,000. So this research has also come up in Science. It was also published in Science. It's not mine. And it has been found that most of the thoughts are repeat thoughts. And with every thought, we lose energy. Every repeat thought, we lose energy. That's the way anxiety grows. So if you live in the past, you will have depression. If you live in the future always, you will live in anxiety. What will happen is anxiety. If you live in the past only, somebody has done something wrong with me, so I'm depressed. So that's why Shantuji says that live in the present. And he will keep on telling you. Yeah. Overthinking has got many manifestations. We call it as a neurotic nucleus. Overthinking is something, there are two kinds of overthinking. One is called neurotic nucleus, one is called neurotic paradox. Neurotic nucleus comes when we have a sense of guilt. And sense of guilt may be perceived, may be actual. So we keep on thinking about something. I had a patient, who used to use a full sunlight bar. Those days we used to have sunlight bar, yellow color.
501. 501.
He used to have every day one full sunlight bar to wash his hands. And then his hands all got rotten. We ultimately found that his guilt was that he has stolen some money. And there is a famous novel also, Dostoevsky, the Crime and Punishment. That as long you don't free yourself up of the guilt, this overthinking will continue to come. So our mind has got two sides. One is guilt, other is conscience. If your ego is rewarded, you develop conscience. If your ego is punished, you get guilt. So when we do something wrong, we are somehow punished. Somehow punished. And the punishment from guilt is much more severe than punishment in the jail. So Crime and Punishment, actually Dostoevsky's famous novel, that the person was actually washing blood stain all over for last 10 years. So when he confessed that I did this crime, he could stop having that obsession. We call it obsession compulsion neurosis. OCS.
So forgiveness is not for other, is not only for others, it is for yourself.
Yes, but so that's why you have to, if you have to forgive, then you have to confess. That confession has a great unbounded effect. You confess that this is what I have done. So, I mean, normally we confess in temples, gurudwaras, in masjid, we confess there. But how far that helps, I don't know. It helps. It still helps. Some people I have seen, one of my patients, he used to etch it in the temple wall that I did this. So, a lot of manifestations of this guilt is there. So, guilt may be perceived, guilt may be actual. That's the reason why we get overthinking.
What is the other way of overthinking? Like suppose we are facing any problem, but we are not getting the solution, but it's still going on thinking about it.
That's why I said, ma'am, we are getting repeat thoughts every time. We all have got problems. So, solution of a problem has to be something which is based on your insight awareness. That insight awareness, as long as we do not develop about the problem, we'll chase the solutions, we'll chase the answer for it. Answer will never come as long as we do not answer, as long as we do not understand the problem. So, in a situation like this, it's always better to see the problem rather than to find answer. Those who are chasing solution, they are having repeat thoughts. Those who get rid of it, they see the problem differently. The seeing problem is more important than finding solutions for it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk. Because you are part of us. These are quick thoughts. One is that happiness becomes much easier if we stop focusing on it. Some clarification I wanted to give. Is it true or not? Yes. Improper exposure to happiness shows negative effect. Is it true or not? Lonesome pursuit to happiness separates us from others. If I want to get the award, nobody else should get it. It doesn't make people happy. Unnecessary focus on happiness highlight our deficiencies. Isn't that? Rejection of negative feeling does not make us happier. And negative feelings are important tools for growth and learning. That's also equally important. If we do not have the negative, in the morning we discussed about it. We must get all colors of emotion. Happy, sad, fear, anger, surprise, disgust. Everything is important for us. Not only happiness. We do not promote only happiness. We are not good. We are only talking about the science of happiness. I think I'm nearly done. Happiness. So these are written by me actually, not from the book. Happiness doesn't come always from material gains. Number one, it's just not a momentary feeling. It can last. Not only made for those who deserve it. Everybody deserves happiness. Happy people are no different from others. They simply process information differently. Because electrophysiologically and neuroimaging studies have shown that happy and unhappy people have got similar kind of brain activation. Only the processing kind is different. They process information differently. Happiness is a choice, a sense of belongingness. If you belong to a set of people who want to be happy, then of course you will remain happy. Therefore, my final conclusion is that it's a really good cry. These are the misconceptions we talk to students about happiness. And after the class, they take some time for consolidation. Instead of telling them how to be happy, we allow them to consolidate the message. And there is a change, maybe 5%. But that's a great thing for all of us. Even 5%, they realize that the way I was chasing happiness, probably that's not the right way. And that 5% helps us. And slowly and gradually, we actually move to the next step and towards the next class. So I'm done because it's time for Ria. I don't want to stay in between. And if there is any specific question, I can answer them.